All right, guys, I'm Rich Montalvo. They call me the Turbo Dad. I'm happy to be here with the Bearded Garagistas. Appreciate coming on, and this episode is going to be awesome. We're going to talk about some Mitsubishis, 4G63 power, and I just want to give a shout out to my sponsors, Big Boost, Hall Tech, Extreme Motorsports Jamaica, and Puffworks Tuning.
What's going on, motorsports fans? This is Jared here with the Bearded Garagistas. As always, with me is my brother Brett, and today we are honored to have Richard Montalvo with us, a.k.a. the Turbo Dad.
It's an honor to be invited, man. I've been listening to all the episodes online, the podcast, and you got some talent that's come in here, man.
Well, I appreciate
you got
that.
Some really, I would say, famous people in the industry, in our world. So
for
you guys asked me to come on,
lucky
man,
as hell.
You're doing a good job
For a brand new show, yeah.
Well, look, I've been listening. I listened to the first episode, and I was like, "Yo, it's professional. They're not rambling. Like, it's good." And then I saw the people that came on, and I was like, "Wow!" And then you hit me up on Instagram, like, "Hey, you want to come in and talk about the build?" And I was like, "Me? Like, all right, cool. I'll definitely." Like,
Awesome. Appreciate that. Well, a lot of people, you might not be as well known as some of the other ones, but I think I know you from the track. I know you got the YouTube channel going on. I know you got the Instagram going on. And I know I sound like Barry White because I am sick, so I apologize. How long you been in motorsports?
Man, so I'll tell you, I'm like the behind the scenes guy. I've always been a video production guy. So I've always been behind the camera, but I've been to all the big stuff. You know,
Right.
I've been to all the big races. I've been racing since 95, 96. I've been going to Moroso since back then.
Oh, wow.
So like I watched the Nopi Nationals. I used to go out there all the time. I used to go to street racing when I was younger. I mean, I've been in the car scene since I was 17. And I'm 41 now.
Oh, yeah.
So you can do the math.
You got us by a couple of years.
Yeah. So, man, I know a lot of people don't know me personally, but you've probably seen a lot of stuff that I've done.
Yeah,
you know,
for sure.
I was working at PBIR, and I was the social media director. So
Okay.
all the videos you saw when I was there for almost 8 months, that was me.
Right.
Like that's how you met me.
Yep.
You know, I was walking around with a camera,
Yeah.
and we were sitting with the laptops in the tower,
Yep.
posting stuff. So yeah, I mean, I'm not well known, but my work is kind of well known.
Okay.
So,
Yeah. I mean,
which is amazing in its own right, and some people value that even more. Like it may suck to not have your name totally out there, but when you're able to so frequently point and say that's my work, that's actually who I am. Don't matter my name, but my product, right?
Yeah.
What I've dedicated my life to, that's it. And you recognize it. That means a lot.
Yeah, there's people out there that they want all the recognition. I'm not like that. You know, like there's a lot of stuff that I put out. I don't even tag it with my name. I make memes that people will probably seen millions. I've seen one of my memes go viral, and nobody knows it was mine. And like somebody will post it, and I'm like, yeah,
I know.
amazing. But like I try to be somewhat, you know, private. So even if you go to the Turbo Dad on YouTube, there's very few videos. And you see me on camera, and it looks. I don't think I look so natural because that's not me.
you used to be behind
I'm
it,
the
not
guy
in front of
behind
it.
the camera. Yeah. So like I do my best, and you got to get notoriety, you got to get likes, you got to get shares. So I'm like, all right, let me do a couple videos with me in front of the camera.
Yeah.
So
You gotta
I'm
do your
trying.
thing.
You know, right now we got like 3,500 subscribers, which is decent.
You're there. I mean,
Yeah,
you got
I
more
mean,
than us.
We're working on it. You know, I'm working on it, but
Well, we got some
a lot of
videos
work.
coming out, so we're gonna get there. But so you said you were around for Moroso, Nobi National, stuff like that. What other you spent a lot of time in South America as well, and I know you've traveled. So what other motorsport scenes have you been involved in? Did you race down in South America, or
No,
that was only in America?
No, I didn't race. I went to a lot of events in South America. I've been to a couple rallies, and I went to a rally in Chile back in like '98.
Damn.
And I went to Peru but these little rallies, you know, they're not huge. We're not talking WRC.
Okay.
We're talking the South American.
Are they still catching air going over the
Oh,
jumps,
yeah,
banging
yeah,
off the red
absolutely.
lips? So
And
yeah,
they're
they're a bunch of psychos.
Oh, they're breaking chassis in half
Oh,
down
yeah.
there. I mean,
Yeah.
and look, a lot of guys down there don't have a lot of money, so they'll take some jalopy that they have in the junkyard and they'll just put a big motor in it, and I hope the suspension lasts, you know, and the race lasts as long as the
That's
suspension
crazy.
does.
I kind of want to do that with a drag car. Like, I just
Oh,
want to
man.
go to the junkyard and buy like some random stuff and
Yeah.
just throw a nice engine in it and see what happens.
Yeah. We can
We'll
do
twist
it.
the
Man.
chassis
We can
and
do it.
destroy it.
There's plenty of junkyards down here, and there's some nice. Yo, I saw what are those RX-7s, an '88 RX-7 at the junkyard.
Those
And
are
I was
nice.
Like, yo, you could throw I don't
Yeah.
know, a K swap in there, rear wheel drive, and just have fun.
Hell yeah.
It's so funny because I was just talking to someone recently about junkyards and how they were all over Long Island, and they're here, but they're so. I think they're hidden. Like the regular
I haven't
person just
seen one.
hasn't seen one.
If
I've
you
never
drive
seen
around on
one.
Long Island long enough,
Yeah.
you'll pass a junkyard with stacks of cars like 10 feet high.
I think
10
down
feet.
here it's
10
by
stories
design that you can't see them because
Right.
even the ones that even the big ones they have walls,
Really?
like really high walls, so you can't see them. Like I mean, it's South Florida. People want to pretend that we're rich.
Right. Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
you don't
yeah.
want to see
Which is not.
rusty cars on the side of the road.
So I remember when I first moved down from New York to Florida, and my mother picked me up in the car. We get in the car, we're driving back home, and she takes out of the airport and gets onto 95, and I'm looking at all the palm trees, and I'm like, wow, this is unreal. Like
It's
this,
crazy.
I'm in paradise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like a week later, I'm like, I'm not
I
in
hate this
paradise.
place.
This place is
Yeah.
hot. This place is hot. I'm dying over
Yeah.
here. Look, South Florida, the biggest thing we say, I'm born and raised. I was born in Hialeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I'm born here. I've always lived here, and
You're
I've
a
lived in San
rarity.
Francisco for a little while. So, but I've been here my whole life. So the thing we always tell people is like, yo, we live where you wait all year to come vacation for a
Right.
week.
Yeah.
So I think sometimes we're so used to it. Friends ask me, it's like, yo, you must go to the beach all the time. I haven't been to the
Nope.
beach in 10 years.
Nah. Even when I lived in Hawaii, all I did was hike.
Yeah.
So what cars have you owned? Because I know you as a Mitsubishi guy. Have you ever owned anything other than Mitsubishi, or is it just?
That's going to be a negative. I've only owned Mitsubishis.
Wow.
Like if we're talking, all right, let's talk about race cars. I don't know if I'd call it a race car because none of my cars have been like professional. I've never had a pro mod. I've never, my fastest time I ever ran was like a 11.3, but I was a highway guy, like
Okay.
street racer.
Yeah.
And I had my first sports car was a 1995 Mitsubishi Eclipse. I bought it right off the lot. 0 miles. I think I saved like
the
8
stickers
months.
on the side.
Nah, man, way before that. And we could talk about some Fast and Furious because
We'll get there.
I'm a hater.
Oh,
Like I'm a Fast and Furious hater.
so is everybody. I think.
I
when
think
it-
everyone in the community is.
I
Well,
think
no.
real racers kind of are.
not when it first came out. When it first came out, it put imports on the map. So if you had an import, bro, I'm letting you know. When I grew up on Long Island, imports were not a thing. Like
Yeah.
everybody, like all my boys had Fox bodies and
Yeah, yeah.
American muscle cars, Mustangs. They had all those kind of cars. Like you would see Civics, but they would be like those old broken down shit
Yeah,
boxes.
yeah.
Like you
Which
wouldn't
is what they
yeah,
are.
Yeah.
by design.
Oh,
I mean, they're
man.
economy cars. They were never meant to
Shots
be
fired.
fast cars.
Jesus.
So when you look at a Honda, like if you look at a Honda, I call it a little rattle can. It's very
Ooh.
thin metal. It's very lightweight. But what these guys have done is they'll take this little I don't know soda can and make it run sevens, and you're like, oh my god! Like they spent all this money, which is amazing. There's some builds that I walk by and I'm like, holy cat! Like that's incredible.
they must have
but
spent
it's
a lot
still,
of
but
money.
it's still a can. Like,
Damn,
Look,
shots fired. You
yo,
know who
I've
our
raced-
last guest was, right?
I've raced. Yeah. I actually just listened to his podcast. But I'll tell you, I've raced 4 or 5 Civics down here, and I give them respect. Like the cars are quick.
Right.
Mhm.
I raced what's his name, Hulk Civic, a couple of years ago when I had my Galant.
When he still raced.
Yeah,
'cause
when
he
he
doesn't
still-
even race anymore.
He doesn't race anymore. Nah.
I haven't seen him run that thing in forever.
I thought I saw a post where he's going all-wheel drive. I saw something about Carlos Rencito.
yeah,
something
I know.
like that?
I know he.
It's been a while since I've seen him out.
I seen him at shows,
Okay.
and he brings it out to the Hulk out to shows.
Mhm.
And I remember talking to him one time, or overhearing him talking. He was like, "Yeah, it got squirrely one time on him,
Yeah.
and he has so much money in the car now because he didn't have it back then when he
Mhm.
was racing it. There wasn't as much. Now
Mhm.
there's so much money in the car, it's not worth it to wreck it.
Man,
So-
see, that's the sad. But to me, that's sad. And that's actually, we can get into that whole thing because I remember street racing made safe when it first started. I was at like the second event in
Yeah.
Miami at County Line.
Well, by the way, that's how I interpreted the stories. I might be wrong on that, so no disrespect.
So Hulk Civic, I respected that car because I saw it. I saw him racing it. I finished building my Galant. I have a Mitsubishi Galant all-wheel drive. And I went to the street racing made safe event in Palm Beach right before they started doing the top 10 list, and it got like crazy serious and a lot of
Right.
shops started coming out.
Right.
We were there. I was with my car. He had his car. His crew came over. He's like, hey, man, you want to race the Civic? And I'm like, oh, okay. And then I went over there. No seats, no liner, like nothing. The
Yeah.
car, and I'm like,
There you go.
this is what I know a Honda. It's a box. A
Yeah, it
rattle
doesn't
can.
look like that anymore.
Yeah, no,
beautiful
I've seen
now.
some pictures, but it was fast.
Yeah.
Like that thing
Right.
was moving, and I was like, all right, cool. So we lined up, and we did, I think it was a 40 roll. But here's why I always disliked Hondas. That thing had so much power. I left them like 6 car lengths. I have the video somewhere on my laptop. Why? Because I have an all-wheel drive, and I was brake boosting, and he had to do either boost by gear or wait for it to hook.
Right.
And I was just like brake boosting, and he let off the clutch, like he got on it, and I just let off the brake, and I was gone.
Yeah.
So like now, fast forward, it's been like 6 years probably, and now I'm seeing all these guys, all-wheel drive Honda. I'm like, they've seen the light. You know, we used to tell
Makes
them
sense.
in the early 2000s, we used to street race against the Hondas.
Right.
And we're like, oh, you want to run? I'm like, bro, like for what, 80 to 200 miles an hour because you can't get traction? Like,
That's usually how it is. If you ever watch the roll races on Instagram, it's always like
it's 60 to 160.
they start at 60.
Like I'm not trying to do 160 mile an hour on 95, bro. Like so it's usually we do 20 rolls or 40 rolls. Because 20 roll, it's like, okay, you're in first gear. You know, you kind
I
of
think 40's the sweet spot.
I think 40 is like the standard now.
Yeah.
Because I know the IRRA,
They run
40
40.
roll.
40.
Yeah.
And that for us, for the Mitsubishi guys, like we have torque. It's right in the sweet spot. Like
What-
we run it.
Yeah. What drew you to Mitsubishi?
Man, I saw one of the commercials on TV back. Yes, kids. Commercials on TV, not just on YouTube.
That's funny because I don't even watch television anymore.
No, me neither, man.
I don't
So
think
anyway,
anybody does.
I was watching TV one night and I saw the commercial and it was cool because they had this all-wheel drive Eclipse and it did a burnout and it started smoking the tires and they did like this crazy zoom out like if you went back to space, like if it
Okay.
was a satellite,
Right.
and they made the Earth spin backwards.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, okay. All-wheel drive has got so much traction and power that it's making the Earth spin backwards. I'm like, whatever. But I thought the car was really cool. And then I started looking into it, and it was like 210 horsepower, all-wheel drive, 5-speed. I'm like, man, this is kind of
good
wild.
base.
Yeah. So I went to look at it, and I was 18, 17, 18, $28,000 in 1995. I was like, yeah,
Probably not gonna happen,
And then the sales guy was like, yeah, but yo, check this out. This one's front-wheel drive.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. You know, I took it for a test drive. It was nimble. It was quick. I was like, oh, cool. I'm like, how much? He's like, this one's 22.
Same car?
Same car.
But
identical,
one was
just
all-wheel
front-wheel
drive?
and the other one was all-wheel drive.
I didn't know they sold them like that.
Yeah.
All right.
That's the two ways they come. So I was like, okay, 22. Yeah, I can put down 5. I can finance it. Okay, cool. You know, my mom was my co-signer because I didn't have credit. I didn't have anything. So that's how I got the car. And let me go back a little bit. The sales guy's like, you don't really need all-wheel drive. You're in Florida. There's no mountains. And I was like, yeah, all-wheel drive is dumb. And then like a year into owning the car and like racing people and
That's
like
funny.
wheel hopping, I'm like, why did I buy a front wheel drive? So that's how I got that's my very first sports car that I personally owned.
Right.
And my uncle was a big influence because he owned a 3000 GT VR4 in Ecuador.
Ooh.
So I was 15 and he took me for a ride through the mountains.
I actually think that's the only Mitsubishi that I ever, even with the Evo,
okay.
the 3000 GT VR4 was the only Mitsubishi that I ever wanted.
That thing's sweet.
Yeah.
Do you know about the Spider? Hardtop convertible?
Yeah.
Ooh, twin turbo all-wheel drive?
Yeah. Is that the one where you had to disconnect it though and put it in the trunk?
No, you just push a button.
Oh, okay.
And it
That
just
was the
goes,
button
it
one.
just goes right in the it actually puts itself in the trunk.
What's the one that?
And that's like way ahead of its time. I'm talking 95.
Well, Mitsubishi,
Yeah.
with a lot of the stuff Mitsubishi came out with, they were always ahead of their
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
They came out with stuff
Active
way,
Aero in
yeah,
91. Like,
Yeah.
it's
Well,
wild.
yeah, they didn't with the front lip came down and then the rear spoiler would
yeah.
move. That was nobody did that for another 20 years.
Dude, the Galant in Japan and in Malaysia and Australia, it had air suspension in 88.
I didn't know that.
There had 3 settings. And every setting would lower the car and stiffen it, lower the car, stiffen it.
Right.
And I was looking for that for years. And I buy a lot of parts, JDM parts from a guy in Malaysia.
Okay.
And he took a picture, like he buys them from Japan and then slices them up and parts them out.
Right.
And he sends me a picture and he's like, hey, look what I found for you. And it's the shock tower with the connector with the airlines going to it. And I'm like, oh, dude.
Wow.
I'm like, how much? He's like, 2,000. I was like, nope.
Almost.
You know, like,
you almost had me.
you almost had me, but
He's like the guy with the fishing pole. You almost had it.
but I'll tell you, he did get me. He got me for one big one. So I have a Galant, the green Mitsubishi
Right.
Galant. AMG, Mercedes AMG, before Mercedes bought them, used to tune cars.
Okay.
They were like AMS.
Yeah.
Mitsubishi called them to celebrate their all the rally wins from the late 80s. They're like, hey, can you tune the Galant? They took 500 of them, and there's AMG Galants. So this guy sent me a picture. He's like, yo, check out what I got. And he said, it's an AMG Galant. I'm like, holy crap. And he showed me the bumpers and all this stuff. And I'm like, what can I buy? And he took off the bumpers, the wing, the grill, the seats. Da, da, da. Guess how much I spent?
How much?
Guess. For a body kit.
Oh, I don't even know.
$6,500. It was like, I think I was drunk.
Yeah.
I was really drunk that night.
I can
And
agree
then he
with you on
sent
that
me the
one.
pictures, and I was like, I looked at my credit card. I was like, I can do it.
You're out of control.
But dude, the shipping, I mean, the shipping's what kills you, because it was like $4,000 for the full kit. And then the
Right.
shipping was $1,800.
It's the life of the car guy, though.
Dude, it's crazy.
Just spend money.
It's
What
sitting
else?
the car's sitting in my garage. Like, so Mitsubishi imported 1,000 of the Galant VR4s, which is the
Right.
turbo all-wheel drive, into the US. I have number 330 of 1,000, and it's a full AMG swap. So there was only 500 AMGs and 1,000 VR4s. So I took
That's a pretty
the
rare
kit,
one.
Yeah, I took the kit from the AMG and I slapped it on mine.
Okay.
So it's still sitting in the garage. I took it apart. I blew the motor. You know how it goes. And then I got the van, and I got married, and I had a kid.
Well, what's your address? Let me write that down real quick.
That is,
So you mentioned those cars. What else have you had?
I've had a Dodge Stealth twin turbo. You
So
know that
a
one,
Mitsubishi.
3000 GT. Basically.
It's a Mitsubishi.
I had a 3000 GT VR4. I had a Dodge Stealth twin turbo. I've had 6 Eclipse all-wheel drives
Okay.
and 2 Eagle Talons. It's the same car. It's just got a different bumper and a different badge.
Yeah.
And it's all of it, not all of them. Like, aside from the Stealth and the 3000, it's all the 4G63 motor.
Well, they
Like-
got that Eagle Talon that's on 1320 video
Yeah.
constantly. That
Oh, yeah.
red one.
That thing is
I don't know. Red Demon, I think.
Red
it's called.
Demon. Yeah.
Thing's fast.
Fastest stick shift in the world.
That's
Wow.
ridiculous.
That's crazy.
So anyway, yeah. So it's the engine too that got me hooked, because that engine, that stock engine in '95, I did 480 to the wheels, and all I did was, like, I threw a set of cams on it, I put a bigger turbo,
Right.
and I ported the intake and the runners on the head.
So how do you feel about the Evo 10 not having the 4G63?
What car is that?
Ah, that's fucked
You
up.
could just take that Evo name right off that thing,
Yeah?
bro.
Oh
Nah,
yeah.
absolutely not.
I know
That's
it
not
upset,
an Evo.
it upset a lot of people.
It's not an Evo. It's like when people tell me the MK, what is the new Supra? That's not a Supra. Like, if you want to keep the tradition of a brand,
Yeah.
J engine.
you have
Mhm.
like, you can change the motor. They could have called the 4B11 the 4G6 something
Yeah.
and continued the tradition. But you lost, in my opinion, the Evo X lost what an Evo was. An Evo is like a nimble 4-door affordable car.
Right.
The
Right.
Evo 9 was $30,000. The Evo X is like 35 with, leather heated seats.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, that's not what the legacy of the Evo.
Yeah.
Right. And that's we lost the Eclipse. They stopped making the Mitsubishi Eclipse in '99,
Right.
and then they gave us this Evo. And I was like, I went to go look at it. It's heavy. It's like 800 pounds heavier. Now it's got all these leather options. And then I'm like, how much you want for this?
It's not a race-
32. Like, God dang.
It's not a race car anymore.
Is it
Yeah.
just the engine that got you into Mitsubishis?
No, the car. The
overall
look of the
build.
car. Yeah, the look of the car, the lines. And I was 17. Like, that car to me was like, man, that thing's sexy,
What kept you there though?
The engine. Making power.
It's always
Making power cheap with very little. Like, we would show up in meets with a basic turbo upgrade, $500 turbo, a set of cams, and like a super AFC with the knob,
Yeah.
Mhm.
tuning with a knob,
Yeah,
no
yeah,
digital, nothing.
Yeah.
And I was racing.
Yeah, back then you didn't see too many laptops at the track.
Yeah. I was racing Cobra Mustangs for money from a dig.
Oh way.
Damn.
Like, buy, wow,
That's
$400.
crazy. Damn.
See ya. Back then I used to do dig runs, on the street, and we used to embarrass people. We used to embarrass people so badly that I had a performance shop, and my shop was called the DSM shop.
Okay.
We had a Mustang shop like across the way. And my car, we would go out there and kick ass. I would never race other imports. I wouldn't race Hondas. I wouldn't race anybody else. I would race Mustangs, Camaros, Corvettes.
Okay.
And the guy was like, yo, yeah, man, you're the guy with the little red Talon? I was like, yeah. He's like, yo, if you want nitrous, bro, it's on the house. I'm like, why? He's like, because 5 guys have come and like, yo, we need more power. There's this red little and he's destroying business. Everybody. So it was cool. You know, I'm talking
business in there.
This was back in 1999,
right?
Early 2000. So it's fun. Those days. I mean, the car, the lifestyle, and then the power, the speed.
So before you got into it, let's talk. So Mitsubishi, I apologize. Mitsubishi started producing cars in the 60s, and they didn't merge with Chrysler until till 69, 70s. I think it's 70.
Mm-hmm.
How does a company? Why did they merge with Chrysler? Like I've done a little research. Mm-hmm. I want to know your opinion.
So I personally wouldn't call it a merger. It was like, we're gonna get together. We want to enter the market in a bigger capacity. Chrysler had so many dealerships, and Mitsubishi needed dealerships, and they didn't have the ground game to just start putting up dealerships in every state.
You feel like they were playing catch up with like Toyota
Absolutely.
and Honda?
Absolutely.
That's what I figured.
So Mitsubishi, you know, from everything, the history that I've read about Mitsubishi, it's they needed to get into the market, and they had them. There was already like so many dealerships with Chrysler that could just go boop, 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 boop. But Chrysler was like, hey, we're not just going to sell your car for you.
They had the
let me put some logos, you know, our logo on a lot of your cars.
I don't think Mitsubishi could have come stateside a lot earlier than what they did, though.
No,
there was still so much bad resentment towards that name.
Well,
what
true,
are you
though.
talking about?
There's a lot. No, but
he
come
knows
on.
a lot about this.
The airplanes, right?
Yeah,
yeah.
So the Mitsubishi Zero.
Yeah.
Anybody took listening? Down a lot of Americans.
Yeah. Anybody listening? The war.
Yeah.
When Japan entered the war, Mitsubishi made the planes, and they were very successful with those planes.
And out of
attacking us,
not just successful, but like out of all World War II aircraft, the most feared at the start of the war, the most feared was the Mitsubishi Zero.
Yeah.
So when Japanese cars started coming here, there was a lot of backlash just because they were Japanese cars. You're then going to say, "Oh, let's sell a Mitsubishi stateside."
Yeah, let me buy that. Let me buy that. Nah, I don't think so.
But I think Chrysler's smart, and they kind of knew that was their upper hand, right?
Yeah.
So they figure, all right, in the business deal, who has the upper hand here? They're already established in America. Right. They don't need anybody else.
Yeah.
Right.
So if Mitsubishi comes knocking on the door, they're like, hey, well, we know we have the upper hand, and we know that everybody hates you still, even though it's 30 years later. Yeah. Let's go ahead and gouge them. So
that's why there's, for every Mitsubishi version, there's a Chrysler badge. I mean, it's a different bumper, this and that, but it's the same car.
They
so
all look the same.
Chrysler got them super cheap. I'm sure they got them so dirt cheap. And just say, all right, we're gonna sell your Mitsubishis. But
they bought stake in the company. They had
it's genius of Chrysler, though, if you think about it, because then they had the foresight to see where the import cars were going to go, where the Japanese cars were going to go, and they were able to get on top of that. From Chrysler's point of view, it's brilliant.
Well, even some of the design cues, Chrysler. If you look later on in the '90s, you start to see some Chrysler cars that are like, that kind of looks like a Mitsubishi Colt.
Yeah, because they when they split, the cars still kind of had the same, like nobody made a big jump to split away from each other.
Yeah.
So they kind of still stayed the same. So when Mitsubishi comes into the American market and they come in looking like a stepchild pretty much because everybody else was already established in here.
I mean, I think Toyota was the king, right?
Yeah. And I feel like now still Mitsubishi is kind of a stepchild of JDM and of imports really in America. But you told me earlier that outside of America, booming.
Mitsubishi is in South America, which I'm from South America. My family's there. Mitsubishi is a luxury brand. And the one thing I'll tell you that I personally like about Mitsubishi is Mitsubishi doesn't have like Toyota has Lexus. Right, and you're like, Lexus, wow. Right. Yeah. Mitsubishi, it's Mitsubishi all over the world. Okay. And if you go to, for example, when I go to Ecuador, I was telling you that there's a Montero Sport that the starting price is $70,000 and it's decked out. I would call it like a Rolls Royce SUV. It has everything. It has a diesel engine option. It has a gas engine option. It tows like a
you showed me a picture of it. It looked nice.
So I mean, if they're making all this money, why come here? Yeah.
It would cost them probably 30 to 40% more to outfit the cars to pass all the crash tests, the DOT, the EPA regulations. In South America, there's no regulations.
Yeah.
Like the diesel engines, I owned a Mitsubishi Sportero, which is a pickup truck. It's like a Colorado.
Right.
4-door, 2.5 liter turbo diesel.
Right.
And when I stomped on the gas, I was rolling coal.
Really?
Like bad. But the car hauls ass. So like in South America and in India, in Malaysia and in Australia, they made a huge launch with that new pickup truck.
Right.
And Mitsubishi's known also for the Dakar, like the Montero, the Pajero.
Right. Yeah.
They won the Dakar rally with the Pajero years and years and years. So in the US, I think the Mitsubishi is like, whatever. Let's sell them some Mirage.
Does it pay
it's like our
to get out
profit.
there?
Our margin in the US is 10%. Our margin in South America is 40. Where are we going to go?
Right.
I'm going to stay in South America.
Right.
You know, I make deals with the government so my cars don't have to do emissions testing, don't have to do crash testing. It makes sense from a business standpoint. As a consumer,
well, yeah, because they would have had to drop a lot of money,
of course,
into the States to get the cars to where they needed to be.
Yeah. So I have a Lancer Sportback as my daily. I actually have two. One of them I have here in Florida, and the other one is in Ecuador. So I shipped it down there. And it cost me $18,000 here. I mean, Lancers, Mitsubishis here are cheap, dirt cheap. That's why I buy them, because they're really cheap and they're decent cars. So I shipped it down to Ecuador and I took it to the local Mitsubishi and I was like, hey, I want to register it with the VIN number to make sure you guys know it's here. So for the warranty, for this and that. And they look at the car, they're like, what is this? I'm like, it's a Lancer. And it's got, Mitsubishi logos all over it. They're like, we've never seen this. I'm like, you have Lancers? There's a Lancer over there. He's like, yeah, but this with the hatchback, apparently they told me it's the only one in the country.
Wow.
And I paid $18,000 for it, and the insurance company said, "Oh, that's a $42,000 car." And I was like, "Oh, sure. If I crash it and you want to cash me out $40,000, like,
yeah,
okay,
right?
no problem." No, I wrote it down for $40,000.
Next month, Rich is pushing that thing off a cliff.
Yeah, I'll tell you, we can get into some of the little cultural differences too in the car scene.
Yeah,
which is pretty interesting down there compared to here. We have.
Well, you spent more time down there. Like we had.
Yeah, I was living down there for the past from 2011 to 2016. I was living there.
What's it like down there?
Well, if you go to my YouTube, there's a video. It says Ecuador with family, and I went to a road race, and it's pretty cool. So, but unfortunately, everywhere in the world is, if you have money, you're gonna win. There was a guy with a Porsche GT3.
Oh.
In a country where the minimum wage is $400 a month. That's what the majority of people make. And this guy's got $120,000.
Why even
Porsche.
race though? Like at that point, like
he's
you're gonna
himself.
win. Yeah,
he's just trying to get the best time. Yeah.
Right.
But the scene is I like it because you see a lot of ingenuity. You see people that don't have a lot of money, but they're like, dude, we got to figure it out. And they put engines from this. And I've seen them. I saw a Mitsubishi Colt with a Nissan SER motor in it.
Oh.
And I was like, what?
It was like some Frankenstein and stuff.
What is this bastard?
Yeah. Just
so you see all kinds of stuff,
things.
but you see that one of the most popular cars is it's funny because it's a Chevy. It's a 2-door hatchback Chevy that's never been sold here. Like
really?
I've never seen it in the U.S. I'll show you a picture. We'll probably on the video. I'm
I'll
sure
put
we'll
it up
throw a little video.
Yeah.
I have a video of them racing. You can show.
Oh,
it.
he raced it.
Yeah, I'd say 60% of the cars at that road race were these little Chevys.
Wow.
See, that's something like cultural differences that we don't understand.
Yeah.
And you were talking about with Honda Pro, Jason.
Yeah, Jason.
And he was like saying that, we always say, Japan gets like the coolest cars. And the Japanese are like, oh, you guys get the coolest cars. When you go to South America, I see Fords and Chevys that I guarantee you, I show you a picture, you'd be like, no, that's not a Chevy. It's like, yeah, dude, that's a Chevy with a Chevy, 1.5 liter non-turbo motor. There's so many cars down there that the American manufacturers are like, yeah, we can make some money. Like, let's get the one from Australia and we'll take all the power options off of it, put a non-turbo motor in it, sell it to them.
Holy shit.
That's crazy. There's a lot of car companies that do that. Well, all of them do that. They make cars that suit the culture of that country.
That or it's the same, because they got to fit
different
on the
types
streets,
of roads,
emissions.
different types of just people's desires.
It's more about the money.
The United States is dominated by SUVs, and there's almost no other country that has that.
Here's the thing, and I'll tell you specifically because I lived in Ecuador for many years. It's more about what can they afford. So my Lancer has 8 airbags. The Lancers in Ecuador have 1. It's not a requirement, and the car can be sold for less money. There's no leather seats,
That's nuts, dude.
no automatic transmissions.
That's so crazy, bro. Like,
there's no safety features.
yeah.
Like,
It's like if you crash, you're gonna die. So
pretty much.
YOLO.
There's no. Well, here I'll tell you what.
Scary.
And this is the scary part. Living down there and driving in the mountains and stuff. If your life is not worth what it is here, like you die and you're like, he's dead. Like you can't sue. Your family tries to sue the brakes failed on my Toyota. You try to sue Toyota, you ain't getting anywhere because Toyota's in with the government. So you try to sue Toyota, Toyota comes and pays off the judge, and they cancel your lawsuit.
Yeah, I heard recently that some of the companies, not just car companies, but just companies in Asia, so China and Japan, are big in, like they're scooping up land in Mexico where they're running drugs and they're paying off the cartels because there's resources in the land there that
they're not. Let's be clear. They're not trying to buy the drugs. They want the minerals that are in those.
They could care less about the drugs. They want the minerals in the land.
Well, I have we can get a little geopolitical for a moment. I have a lot of friends in Venezuela. China now is the largest landowner in all of Venezuela. They're buying up mountains and they're digging out cobalt.
Wow.
Heavy metals.
Really?
All kinds of stuff. Gold.
I heard
Because
about
the
this.
government,
It's
the
crazy.
Venezuelan government needs money. They don't give a damn what you do. They don't have the ability to dig the minerals out of the earth. So they sell the land to another country.
Which is so crazy because if they could figure out a way to do that, they would.
Yeah. They can't
country
pull their
around.
own oil out of the ground. It's just
That's so
dude,
gnarly to think about.
Dude, if we want to get geopolitical,
But Americans lose sight of it. Whether all of it, whether it's the car culture, whether it's everything under the sun, value of life, all those things.
I mean, we can get back on topic, like the racing scene down there. I've seen in the city Toyota Supras, twin turbo, 5-speed Supras.
Really?
Guys are driving them, and I'm like, that guy's like 20 years old. And I walk up, I'm like, oh, this car's really sweet. He's like, yeah, it was my granddad's, and he left it to my dad. And my dad's out of town, so I just took it out. I'm like, damn.
Shit.
And I'm like, I look, one of them, I was like, yo, can I sit in it? And he's like, yeah. I sat down, I look at the gauge cluster, 20,000 miles.
That's it.
20,000 miles.
That's not bad.
I'm like, dude,
3 generations of Toyota?
That car in Miami, $100,000.
Oh yeah.
Have you seen people posting on Facebook Marketplace?
Yeah,
like 120,000.
The price just goes up.
Automatic, non-turbo, 100,000 miles, $100,000.
Yeah,
come on.
It's just because they know that somebody's going to do a heart transplant.
They're trying to do I guess the JDM hype is what I call it.
So knowing that the scene down in South America or the scene outside of America is so big with imports and Mitsubishi, do you think it was worthwhile for Mitsubishi to even come here or even try to bind with Chrysler? Because now that's led to the whole alliance. Now they're part of Renault, Nissan, Mitsubishi. Nissan owns, or is it Nissan or Renault owns? They own like the majority stock in the company.
I think Nissan owns the majority stock in Mitsubishi.
So was it worth it for them?
I think so. I think Mitsubishi did a good move, signing with Chrysler and doing the whole Diamond Star Motors. Dude, they sold a lot of Eclipses. Yeah. They sold a lot of Mirage. I mean, a lot of these cars.
Well, Brian O'Connor, man.
I was just going to say, that movie had an impact on Mitsubishi in the United States. Because everybody wanted to go get one.
Well, there was the 95 Eclipse, there was the 2001 Eclipse, and then there's all the 3 generations of Eclipses are in the movie.
Yeah, the third one though, the purple one with Tyrese, that was the ugliest one.
Awful. But
they tried.
I think so. The movie definitely had an impact on the import scene. In my personal opinion, living through that scene, it hurt the real racer. Because back then in 98, 99, we were finally getting in beating Mustangs. Right. We were going to the track, we were beating Mustangs, beating Camaros, like beating the domestic V8 with little turbo 4-cylinders. And we're like, yeah. And the movie comes out and the car's shooting flames and it's got lights under it and it's green with stickers. And we're like, we show up at the meet and they're like, oh, is that like the one in the movie? Oh, fuck, come on, man. Like to the real racer in that time, we were embarrassed. Yeah. But to the young kid that was like, yeah. Companies started popping up selling clear taillights, clear corner markers, underglow. They made money. So it made an impact in the
I saw a car
scene.
the other day with underglow.
Yeah, it's coming back.
Yeah,
It's a.
I think
coming
I think it's definitely coming back. Yeah, it's like a trend, you know.
Yeah.
It's like
There's
global
actually a
trends.
guy that I'm kind of friends with on Facebook. We run the Facebook page, DSM Nation, and he has the most complete tribute build. It's identical, the same body kit, the
No
same
way.
wing, the same everything. But the way he did it, which I kind of like, is instead of using the 420A motor, which is the non-turbo Eclipse, he used the turbo 4G63 all-wheel drive chassis.
Yeah, because most of the cars in the movie were like stripped
They
down.
were garbage.
They
They were
really
they were
nothing
like
to
the
them.
base model of every car. But I like I said in the beginning, like I'm a Fast and the Furious. I'm a hater. I ain't gonna sugarcoat it. Like that movie made us look stupid.
Well, like I don't understand though, because like
Made money
If-
though.
yeah, made
absolutely.
a ton of money.
Absolutely.
They're still
For a lot
doing
of
it.
people.
Well,
Okay.
no, the
Now it's
first
just getting
one,
ridiculous.
the first and second one did not make money.
No, I mean for like the companies and
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So the aftermarket that started
Right.
making the
The
spoilers and
aftermarket,
everything.
yeah.
even
My thing is, like,
Mitsubishi.
Yeah.
Well, he drove the main character in the first one. Excuse me. Jeez, I'm sick. The main character in the first one is Brian O'Connor. He drives that green Eclipse, and it's only for a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
very
But
short.
that's not the car that everyone dreamed of having. Like they all
Yeah.
wanted like Dom's RX-7, Jesse's Jetta.
Volkswagen Jetta.
They had the S2000. The you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, but
Like,
remember the character, Brian's character was, they call him the Buster. He was the joke. Like all the other guys
Yeah.
were the serious racers, and the cop
Yeah,
comes
that makes
in
sense.
and he's like the punchline.
Yeah.
So he has this car that's like, and everybody's like, you thought you almost had me. Oh, you never had me. He was the joke of the movie.
yeah,
So it made sense to use like
that's rough.
That's
That's
interesting.
rough. The
Think about it.
the stepchild
Interesting
car
outlook.
got
Well,
the stepchild joke.
Of course, I mean think about the plot in the movie. O'Connor, Brian, yeah, was it O'Connor? Yeah,
Yep.
He wasn't like the main character. Dom was the badass.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's why, like, when I see him pull up in the Eclipse, you know, I'm a video guy, so like I've done a lot of video production. Now that I watch those movies, I'm like, God, it's so awful.
I was a kid at the time, and I don't know if you remember, but out of all the cars in it, I wanted the Eclipse.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, I
you
remember
were the
that.
Eclipse. Oh, nice.
Yeah, he was the Eclipse.
Yeah,
I
we wanted the
RX-7.
RX-7.
Until
Yeah,
they
yeah,
until they
RX-7.
came out with the new Eclipse, then I wasn't so much.
But I wanted the RX-7 without the rotary. I wanted
Why?
something else
Why?
because I
What's
hate
the point,
I
then?
hate that way it sounds. I know it makes
Really?
power. I know it makes power. I know it makes more power per liter. I get it.
Man, you just sat down and
can't-
started throwing shade at
Yo,
everybody.
I can't stand the way it
Hondas,
sounds, dude.
Rotaries.
I'm gonna show you a video that I made, and they wouldn't let me put it on the PBIR Instagram because I'm clowning on the rotary.
Oh, God.
I respect it though. I'll tell you, I've seen some rotary in cars. There's a bug that comes out to PBIR. Have you seen it? The little black mamba.
No.
Bro, it's a Beetle, like an old 70s Beetle
Okay.
with a rotary. That shit, like the whole track on the back wheels.
Really?
Wow.
It runs like an 8.4. I have video of it.
Holy shit.
I posted it on
That's
the.
crazy.
On
We're going to
PBR.
post it on this.
Yeah, yeah.
Too.
That's the thing. That's what I'm saying. Like when that thing came out, I'm like, I covered my ears. Don't get me
Right.
wrong. But that thing took off, and I was like, "What
Everybody's
the hell?"
dude. I wear headphones at the track. Everybody out
Yeah.
there like trying to plug their ears or standing there trying to be all tough guys, bro. I was
go deaf.
I was a 50 cal gunner for a while. So
Oh, you know.
yeah, I'm not my ears
Not
already
something to
ring.
play
I
with.
don't need anything more. But you know why the whole alliance started? Like with the Mitsubishi, with the the regulations and stuff that they were forging. So apparently Mitsubishi for 25 years was forging Japanese regulations. So
I didn't
like,
know that.
Yeah.
No, I didn't know that.
So I read this up, and I don't know if it's true, but I did some research. You know, I like to
Okay.
research before I get on the show 'cause
Allegedly.
I don't know. Allegedly.
Allegedly.
So allegedly for 25 years, and when Nissan and all them people caught it, they had only thought they'd been doing it for 10.
Okay.
And then when they went to Mitsubishi and they were like, "Hey, what's the deal?" Mitsubishi's like, "Well, yeah, it's, they didn't say the number of the years."
Okay.
And Mitsubishi stuck their foot in their mouth and was like, "Well, for the last 25 years, we've definitely been forging the numbers." And then they tried to blame it on like everybody else.
I'm sorry.
The fuel consumption.
I hear you saying forging, and I'm thinking like forging steel.
Oh no.
Faking the numbers.
Faking the like,
numbers
fuel
of the
consumption.
emissions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Emissions and stuff like
Mile
that.
per
like,
gallon and everything.
Right.
Yeah.
They were like
lying the whole time.
heavily
Yeah,
lying.
big
Like
time.
it wasn't even close. So when Nissan caught them with their pants down, that's when Nissan bought the major.
No, they
stake
had
in the
to
company.
because Mitsubishi stock was tanking.
Yeah.
Because I mean, let's be honest. You know, Japanese, it's all about honor. I mean,
Yeah.
people still commit suicide because you know they lost honor in their
Yeah.
family and stuff.
Yeah.
Yep.
So when that scandal came out, Mitsubishi's stock just tanked.
Yeah.
And they were like, "This is the end of Mitsubishi." But let me just make a note. It would be the end of Mitsubishi Motors, MMC, because Mitsubishi Heavy Industries. I don't know if you're familiar with.
They had three.
They're
They
different.
had East, Central, and
No,
West.
so-
and then they merged them.
No, but
and-
Mitsubishi Heavy Industries makes big, giant equipment. Like the airplane.
Right.
The airplane is Mitsubishi Heavy Industries,
They make
not Mitsubishi Motors. It's
they
a
make,
totally different company.
like backhoes and cranes. and
Yeah,
stuff, don't they?
cranes, and even like Mitsubishi Electronics. That's a different company. So when you're talking about the company I'm talking about that was going to go bankrupt was Mitsubishi Motors.
Right.
Right.
And the parent company, Heavy Industries, was like, "Hey,
Hey,
you-
that's their own.
That's
they got
your
their own-
problem.
You
We're not,
did you.
Yeah, we're not bailing
I
out
don't
on
know
this one."
nothing.
Because you know Mitsubishi is one of the. There's not that many companies in the world that actually make turbos. Mitsubishi's one of the top 5. I
Everybody
think.
else buys theirs.
Everybody. Well, most people buy Garrett, and but Mitsubishi has been making their own turbos for the Mitsubishi Fuso, the
Interesting.
trucks.
Right.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So that Mitsubishi makes their own turbos. They're one of the few in the world that make everything. They make the whole thing, not like use the Garrett center cartridge and then we make the housing and then you get the compressor cover from another place. They make the whole thing.
Wow.
So, and that's what we used to do. We used to pull turbos off of Mitsubishi Fusos and slap them on our cars. Like what people do now with the whole sets. They go to the junkyard and pull a whole set turbo off Cummins, the diesel engines, and they slap them on a Honda, slap them on a Eclipse.
Right.
Read off his build.
Current build. We got 92 Eagle Summit Wagon, not a minivan.
It's technically not a minivan.
He got a little heated when I said minivan. I was like,
Minivan.
"Oh yeah, that's the minivan." He's like, "No, it's not a minivan."
Well, like even I call it a minivan because I call it the mystery van. If you
Okay,
look, my
mystery.
tag says MRE space van, so mystery van.
MRE brings
Eclipse
back bad memories.
For
guts.
you, yeah. Meal's ready to eat, right?
I gotta get new eyes.
All right, sorry, go ahead.
Eclipse guts, 4G63 rods and pistons, ported heads at the house. Are you nervous?
Yeah, like, do you get nervous porting the heads in the
Nah,
house?
I got 8
And
of
a
them.
standard turbo.
I've got 8 of them. So if I overport it, I'll just throw it in the trash and go grab
8
another one.
blocks.
I have 8 cylinder heads and
8
five
excuse me,
blocks.
cylinder.
What?
But let me give you the rundown of the build. So
What are you
let's
doing?
hear it.
Just like, hey, you want to get rid of that engine? I'll take it.
I look online on Craigslist and Facebook, and if I see somebody selling an Eclipse turbo for cheap, I'll go buy it, and I'll gut it, and I'll junk the body and just keep the engine, the transmission, backups.
Dude, your
backups
wife must love you. Like, really,
She
really
does.
love you.
She does. Well, I think she does. Hopefully, obviously I love her, but I sometimes I don't think she understands because she speaks mostly Spanish.
Okay.
So sometimes I'll speak in English and I'm on the phone and she's like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "I'm gonna go look at a car." She's like, "Another one?" No, and then I'm gone. And then I come back I'm back with a car and it's
There
in
we
the
go.
garage for like 4 or 5 days until I can strip it, and then I just call the junkyard and they come take the shell.
But then you told me that you don't put any like high grade turbos in it. You just use standard regular turbos.
Well, no, I mean I use a Garrett.
Oh, you
I
have
have a Garrett right now,
Okay.
and I just got hooked up by the guys from Big Boost,
Okay.
and they gave me a Master Power dual ball bearing, just some new turbo that Master Power's coming out with, like a race version dual ball bearing, billet wheel, stuff like that.
Is it gonna? Well, let everybody know what horsepower you're at.
Right now, the minivan is 650 to the wheels, and that's all-wheel drive. So the build goes like this: it's a 4G63 from a 1991 Mitsubishi Eclipse with the same head. So it's the head and block from a 91, and the crank is a stock factory crank, 2-liter, high compression, 10.5 to 1, which I know Honda guys are like, that's not high compression. Anyway, it's got
Still
I-beam.
talking smack.
Always talking smack. I-beam rods, upgraded rod bolts. The pistons have upgraded wrist pins. The motor can handle over 1,000 horsepower. My turbo is maxed out at 680. So
Are we going to 1,000?
the Master Power turbo is good. It's rated to about 840. So we're gonna try to be right around 8. Anything over 800 horsepower to the wheels, my transmissions are just gonna explode.
It's an all-wheel drive.
All-wheel drive, yeah. So, and it's a stock gearboxes too. So I don't have a dog box. I'm stock 5-speed gearbox with a twin disc.
Well, most of the time that we see the Evos come to the track, when they come out, they break either a T-case or axles.
Yeah, because they're heavy. That's
All
the
the
problem
time.
with the Evos. They're heavy. That's why I don't know if you followed the chase for 7s for the Evos.
No.
So there was a big to-do about no Evo has ever ran a 7. And what they're talking about is the Evo 8 and 9 because they're bigger, they're heavier. The Evo 3 ran a 780 10 years ago.
Oh, okay.
But nobody gives that the credit. They're like, oh, but those aren't in America, because they're not. You couldn't get an Evo here. So the Evo 8 and 9 a year ago, finally, somebody ran a 7.9 because they're like 3,800 pounds.
Yeah, I don't understand why they built such a I know it's a rally car mostly. Like they mainly built it for rally, but I don't understand. And I know they took it from the Galant.
Mm-hmm.
Like they took the styling from the Galant. So I mean that's a sedan, so that's a heavy car.
Yeah, but you're talking the Evo 1. Like the Evos that came here, and I'll give you your credit. I don't understand why they did it either. Because the Evo was a lightweight rally car. And now the Evo 8 is like this big 4-door tank. Yeah, it's compared to the Evo 4, it's much heavier.
Right.
So that's why these guys had such a hard time, getting a 7. Because power, dude, in Evo mode, I think the world record was like AG Autosports did like 1,200 horsepower to the wheels.
And they pump out some monsters.
Dude, AG cars are no joke. Yeah. Like you get caught on the highway by some car and it's got an AG sticker on the back. Don't race them.
Just let them go.
just bow and give them the salute and then have a nice day. Because I guarantee you, if it comes out of AG, minimum is going to be 800.
Well, I know the 3 cars that I usually see come out of AG. I mean, when they come out, they come out that trailer. They come out like 5 to 10 cars. But they have the red one, the black one that Moose drives, and then they have a silver one, I think. Mm-hmm. Those are fast.
Yeah, and those are street cars, like legit street cars, full interior. Power steering, air conditioning, sunroof. Like I think they have sunroofs, leather seats. Like those are legit street cars. And those things I saw with the silver one, he did a 40 roll pass. He did 150 miles an hour.
That's
and
quick.
He drove it there, did like 4 runs, and then drove it home. I was like, God dang. Yeah, those AG cars, man. Anthony's the wizard. The wizard, I think.
In my opinion, I think the Evo is no one specifically builds a car to roll race, but that car, like the chassis, the build, like how Mitsubishi put out that vehicle, it's a roll racing car.
Absolutely,
it's made for roll racing.
Yeah, it has trouble coming off the line.
Yeah,
because it breaks a lot of stuff.
It either breaks or you get that double squat.
Yeah.
Speaking
of AG, is that the video you saw? The green car when he launches and it hops so bad that the trunk opened.
Oh, really?
It's got so much power, and Anthony, like he's such a good driver that he just got it out the hole.
Right.
But then it started, the ass started bouncing, and literally the trunk just opened up and started flapping.
Oh my god! No, I've watched the red one, double and triple hop sometimes. It's just the way the cars are. It's not that they're doing anything.
It's the suspension. So they need the suspension where the shock, where you can adjust the rebound and have it hold. Right. So if the shock bounces up too fast and then you're shifting through the gears, it's going to keep bouncing. That's what suspension does. It goes up and down, up and down.
Right.
So you need to force it to stay down. But like the suspension kit for that is like $4,000.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
It's a special, drag race suspension.
I'm still of the opinion that suspension is a lot more important than everybody gives it in not just dig and drag racing, but even roll racing.
For sure.
Because I've seen a lot of people make the mistake where like you'll go up and you'll ask them about the build, and the first thing they want to tell you about is the engine, the turbo, not everybody. They'll tell you about the axles too, because like they have those like unlimited spinning axles and stuff. But nobody ever really talks about nobody ever really talks about the suspension. And I feel like even if you were to move around I don't know. I just always felt like if you were to custom build the suspension and like maybe re-weld it to the frame in a different location and then bury it back under the body and let nobody see it, you'd have a monster.
Well, if you go back, I don't know if you're familiar with Cab Customs. Darren Brown had an 8086 Toyota,
right,
with an S2000 motor in it. It's like 890 to the wheels, and he was racing the street race. I made safe. He was on the top 10 list for a while. He did those traction bars and welded them to the underbody.
Really?
And put big tires on the back. That thing hooked on the street.
Wow.
Like
Jesus.
He would brake boost that thing and it would just go. So there's guys that know, those little tricks.
Yeah.
But the majority of guys that you see at the roll racing events that I've seen, at least when we're at the track, they're street cars. And I think you need to worry about the suspension if you have an older car. Like if you have a car from the 90s that wasn't made to be a race car, like a Tercel or a Civic hatch, or those cars have basic suspension just to get you down the street.
Right.
It's like even with my van, I had to get stiffer springs. And I used a newer shocks from an Eclipse all-wheel drive. So the stiffer springs, I cut a coil off. I'm doing the cheater way because nobody makes a suspension or a coilover for a minivan from the 90s.
1992 Eagle Summit minivan.
So with the stock springs that it came with, I did a roll run from 40, and it has rolling anti-lag.
Yeah.
So I had it up 20 pounds of boost on the rolling anti-lag, and it squatted so bad that the tires came in, hit the shock and just cut a hole in both tires.
Oh man.
So I'm like, okay, like a regular street car, like if you have a Mustang right now, that 500 horsepower Mustang, you don't have to worry about that.
Yeah.
Like they have good suspension, but a car from the 90s that you're trying to make fast, you have to worry about that. So as soon as that happened, I'm like, okay, now what am I going to do about suspension? Nobody makes a coilover kit.
But do you like that challenge though?
I personally do. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like
so
doing,
it's
I like
not
doing
just about it. It's about that challenge. It's about figuring it out. How can I, what can I do to make it better?
So that's why Backyard Built means so much to you.
Yeah. I like doing it mostly myself. I can't lie. I have people that have helped me. I have friends that come over and help me. And I always tell people when they're asking me about my build or when we're on the forums and whatnot, they're like, oh, can you do me this? How do you do that? I'm like, listen, I'm not a mechanic. I'm not trying to pretend I'm a mechanic. I'm not a professional welder. I know how to TIG weld. I'm not a professional welder. I just learned these traits or these skills because I wanted to do my car.
Right.
So when there's something that I can't do or I don't know, I call professionals.
Okay.
I've talked to Anthony. I've been at AG and I'm like, hey man, like, my Galant, this and that, and he's been kind to me. Like he's given me tips that you usually have to pay for.
Yeah, that's like shop knowledge.
I think it's part of the, like, I go back so far and he goes back, like we both go back way far in the South Florida racing scene, that he's like, yeah, let me just throw him a bone. And I appreciate it. I told Anthony a couple of times, like, yo man, thanks a lot. And there's been times where one of their guys would call me like, hey, do you have a crank for this car? We're trying to do the Colt.
Okay.
Dan's Colt. They needed a crank. They needed
that
a head.
Thing.
So they came to my house and I was like, look, I got 3 cranks. I got 6 heads. Pick one. And they're like, oh man, you sure? I'm like, yeah, man, just grab one. And he's like, how much? I'm like, give me $100. So we kind of help each other out.
That Colt's nasty, by the way.
It's gone.
Oh, what happened?
I could part it out.
Did they?
As soon as that thing ran a 7, that thing's gone.
Come on. Why?
I wanted to buy the dog box, but I couldn't afford it. Dan had a goal. I don't know Dan that well. I don't talk to him, but from what I could tell, they had a goal.
They built it for a specific goal.
They wanted
hit the
it
goal.
to
They
run
were like,
7s.
let's build another something.
Nobody had run 7s in a Colt. They ran a 7. What else am I going to do with this car? Like, he's got a Mustang now and an Evo.
Oh, does he?
So he's got a Mustang. I see pictures on his Instagram. Like I said, I don't know him that well, so I just follow him on Instagram. And he's got a Mustang that they're building up. I'm like, okay, he's on to the next thing.
That Colt was freaking impressive. I'm not gonna lie to you.
It was amazing.
That was
Speaking of the Colt, but let me tell you the story of how I ended up with a little turbo van.
Yeah,
talking about does your wife love you and everything?
Because I know you came from the hatchback.
Yeah, so I had the same exact hatchback that AG had. It was a Eagle Summit hatch. I bought it. I was going to do the all-wheel drive swap just like they did because I saw that car and I loved it. So I went and I found one. I drove to Texas to get it.
All right, you're psycho.
That's the thing. Remember you were telling me, what do you do all day? I was like, I kind of sit at home because I own my own company. So I'm bored. And
so I drive to Texas and spend a lot of money.
So I drove to Texas. I got it and I was building it up. I had some spare parts. I had some spare engines and stuff. And I was living in South America. So I was only here 3 or 4 months out of the year. And I would do what I could. And then one time I came back and I was like, all right, I'm going to, friends came over. We're going to go work on the car. Let's put the motor in. And then I get a phone call, like as we're in the garage and it's my girlfriend. And she's like, hey, I got something to tell you. Are you alone? I'm like, no, hold on. I ran inside. Are you alone? Yeah. I'm pregnant.
Uh-oh.
Dun, 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 dun.
That'll change things.
So basically that's what I thought. I was like, oh man, okay, what's going to happen? We ended up, we finished it. We put the motor in it and then I had to go back. So I went back and then I was down in Ecuador for 8 months, almost a year. And my son was born. Tomas is his name. And okay, I'm a dad.
Life changed.
We got married. You know, we moved here because I wanted her. We had to get married here so she could be a resident.
Right.
And we did all the paperwork and everything. So the first trip we came, I took her in the garage, and you know she's holding my son, and I'm like, "All right, you want to see the car?" And she's like, "Sure." And I had my Galant, which was running at the time. It was 690 to the wheels.
Okay.
And I was like, "This is my
Not
little
bad.
project car." And she looks at it, right? And I'm looking at her, and you know, they're like, dun, 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 dun,
What's coming next?
dun. And she just looks at me and she goes, "The three of us aren't going to fit in that." And I was like, "Oh, what?" She's like, "That's too small. Where are we going to put the baby seat?" And I was like, "No way!" Like she's cool with it.
Yeah, that was.
I was like, "All right, cool."
not
That's
what I
good.
was
All
expecting.
right.
Yeah, I
It
was
could have been a lot
Yeah,
worse.
exactly. Like
I was a little nervous when you were telling the story. I got nervous, but all right. We're
so
good.
so that's what she said. She's like, "It's too small. Find something bigger." I was like, "Oh,
You
what
got
can
it,
I-"
babe.
I was like, "What can I put all of this engine shit in
Yeah.
that's bigger?"
Right.
And then one night, this was like a month later, we're, you know, Facebook. I'm sure everybody that's listening is on on Facebook groups, car groups.
Oh yeah.
And one of the Mitsubishi groups, some guy posts this little wagon. And I'm like, "Oh, damn, it's red. It's just like my hatch. Same Eagle Summit, but
Yeah.
not hatch, wagon." I'm like, "Cool, it's red." I messaged the guy. I'm like, "Yo, how much you want for this thing?" He's like, $600, man. You know, it's just a shell. It doesn't have a motor. I'm like, "It's not bad." And I'm like, "All right, here's the question, the $1 million question. Is it all-wheel drive?"
Yeah.
And he goes, "Yes." Huh? Wait, it is?
I'll
Yeah.
be there. I'll be there in a minute.
It's all-wheel drive. I'm like, okay, last question. Does the 4G63 fit in the engine bay? And he goes, "It has a 4G64 from the factory, which
Oh.
is the only difference between the 4G64 and the 4G63 is the compression, the stroke.
right.
So one's a
Ooh.
2.4, one's a 2.0. And I'm like, oh,
It's gonna
oh
fit.
yeah,
Oh.
oh yes. And I'm like, "Dude, I gotta sell this hatch, and I'll come get it. Can you hold it for me?"
Take it easy on the table.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. And he's
You're
like,
getting excited.
"Oh, no." He's like, "Oh yeah, I heard of you. You know, I've seen the Galant. Cool. I'm a fan." I'm like, "Cool. Man, please save this thing for me.
Yeah.
Right.
Give me 2 weeks." And he's like, "No problem." I show my wife, you know, show her the laptop, and it's a 3-door, but the third door is a slider.
Yeah.
And I show her the picture, and she's like, "Oh, that's perfect. We can fit in that, and we can take the dogs in the back." Done.
Win.
Wow.
And it's funny. I actually sold the hatchback to AG because they had another project. Somebody else wanted that
Right,
Colt, the
right,
same
right,
the same thing. And I drove it over there on a trailer. I'm like, "Yo, you guys want this? You know, anybody that wants this?" He's like, "Yo, let me make a call." Anthony makes a call. "Yo, I got an Eagle Summit hatch here," and he's like, "No shit." He's like, "It's a shell. Blah, blah, blah. It's got to be a race car because it's gutted." Yeah. So I was gonna do that anyway.
She just made your money back.
Yeah, and the guy's like, and Anthony's like, he's like, "All right, I'll make a deal." And Anthony's like, "Yo, how much you want?" And I was trying to get what I was gonna spend on the
Yeah.
on the van.
Yeah.
I was like, "Yo, give me 600." And he looks at me, he laughs. He goes, "You know me. I'm not gonna pay you 600." I'm like, "Give me 2." I was like, "Give me 2, but I keep the suspension because it had some coilovers."
Right.
And he's like, "Yeah, it's fine. You know, we're gonna get some
Yeah.
drag stuff." I'm like, "All right, bet, no problem." He gave me the money. I dropped off the car. I was like, "I'll come back for the coilovers later." And anyway, it's a long story short, they junked the shell. The guy backed out of the bill.
Oh.
It sat. They were in one shop, and they moved down the street. I don't know if you,
Yeah,
if
I
you
think
remember.
they went to a bigger
They
shop.
took it with them on like this dolly. They rolled it over
They rolled
there.
it down the block.
And I went down there. I went over there to buy some stuff from Anthony, and then I saw it up on this fucking rafter. I'm like, "Yo, what are you guys doing with that thing?" He's like, "It's gonna get junked." I'm like, "Ah, man, that sucks." He's like, "You want it back?" I'm like, "Nope." So that's how I ended up with the little turbo minivan, you know. And my son is now 5, so we built it from since he was
Right.
a year old. So it started running a year and a half ago. So he loves it.
We
Like-
taking it to IRRA.
Yeah, of course.
Oh,
yeah.
We're already signed up, ready to go.
I did a little test event with TRC, the little invitational,
Yeah.
just to see, you know, if I was.
Do you want to put the numbers out there? Or you don't want to talk?
No, I mean people will see it. I posted a video about it. It did from a 40 roll, 135 mile an hour.
That's good.
Yeah,
That's
like
like solid
the top of the
C2?
C3 class.
C3.
Top of the C3. So I think it's like 139.
You're right.
139 is the.
Right.
Yeah,
I was
top of
counting.
C3.
I was counting the wrong way.
But I still got a little left.
Oh.
Ooh.
Ooh.
We weren't on full boost. So
So
Anybody in the
Rich is,
C3
Rich
class?
is coming for you boys.
When did
Watch
the
out
name
for the sleeper.
when did the name come?
Which name? The Turbo Dad?
Yeah.
My son was watching one of those little videos on YouTube, and it was the turbo something. And I was like, yo, let's go in the car. And he's like, and I turned it on and something, and he's like, hey, daddy, does your car have a turbo? And I was like, yeah, you want to see it? He's like, yeah. I pop the hood. I show him this is the turbo, this and that. He's like, so you're the Turbo Dad.
Oh,
Like, clutch.
I was like,
that's
dude.
awesome.
Boom.
Son gets to
Trademark
name it.
that.
Love that.
I own the URL, the Instagram, the Facebook, and the, what's the other one? No Twitter. I don't Twitter. I don't tweet.
God, Twitter's
just
so
too
hard,
old.
man.
Save
I'm too
yourself.
old.
So hard.
I don't Snapchat either. So, sorry, Snapchatters. So you can hit me up on Instagram at the Turbo Dad, Facebook the Turbo Dad, YouTube the Turbo Dad, and soon maybe if we get a little more popular, some merch. I see you guys got T-shirts.
Oh, yeah.
I got a little logo. You saw the little Turbo Dad cartoon?
Yeah, I
I
did
didn't
see
see
it.
it.
On the
It was
Instagram?
hot. It was
Pretty cool,
nice.
right?
You
Yeah.
saw it. I didn't see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got this is one of the shirts. This is like our main
I like it.
company shirt. And then we got a couple other
Throw it out there. We got
play
merchandise store, beardedgaragistas.com.
There you go. Get
If you're
your
an
merch.
artist out there and you want to see your artwork on a shirt or anything, hit us up.
Nice.
for sure.
So little plug. Javier from that racing channel said because they invited me out there and I raced CTSV Cadillac CTSV
right.
Mhm.
and
The white one?
no, it was blue, fast,
I don't know that one.
and a Corvette on nitrous, I think. And I didn't win. Like I didn't beat him, but I had a little issue in one run, and then I left too late, but I was right there.
right.
Yeah.
So they did a little video and they interviewed me and stuff. So that they said it should be dropping this week, maybe
pretty cool.
tomorrow.
Yeah,
but
that's pretty big. Get
Yeah,
your
I'll
name
push it out there.
on that racing channel. That's pretty cool. That's a big YouTube.
I think you know Javier, the guy that runs it. He's
Yeah,
like a Mitsubishi guy. Like
yeah, he's got an Evo.
yeah.
Yeah.
But he from back in the day too. He had an Eclipse and all that stuff. So
I didn't know that from back then.
I met him because I was working with Billet Design Motorsports. You guys
Okay.
know Marco? I don't know if you know Marco?
I know Billet Design.
Okay,
I don't know
so
Marco.
I was the fabricator there for a couple months.
Okay.
Because he needed some help, and I've known Marco way back in the day. So he asked me to come help him out. Anyway, I was welding there one day, and I drove the van because I was daily driving that thing. I love driving that thing.
That's
And
awesome.
Javier comes in because he's building this R32.
Yeah, he's
and I
got the
think
new GTR.
Marco was doing the transmission for him.
Okay.
And I'm like, yo, you want to do a video of like the ultimate sleeper? He's like, what? I was like, 650 horsepower. He's like, okay. He's like, what? I was like, that little red thing outside. He's like, get out of here. I was like, I'm telling you. And I popped the hood, and Javier was like, no way,
Yeah.
bro. He's like, you got to bring it out, man. I was like, just let me know when. It took a while. Like he invited me to do a shoot, and I was on my way there, and I did like a couple test hits, and I broke the rear diff bar.
Okay.
And I pulled over, and you can hear it clanking. And I
Yeah.
called him. I was like, "Yo, I just broke this shit." And he's like, "Ah, man." He's like,
Yeah.
"All right." He's like, "DSM life." Yeah, pretty much.
Well, I'm
Always
shooting-
something always breaks.
I'm shooting with for Apex Motorsports Photo.
Okay.
I'm shooting Street Kings.
Oh, nice. I'll be out there.
photographing
Yeah.
for that.
Yeah, they put the van on one of those little Instagram posts
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
the event graphics and stuff.
Yeah, I
so
saw
I was like, "Oh man, they love me."
Well, do you think? Personal question.
Sure.
Do you think the Evo ever make a comeback?
No, I didn't like the
Whoa.
Evo. So people ask me, like a lot of
Oh,
people
man,
ask me,
just
they're
like
like,
talking smack everywhere.
well, no,
bro.
it's not. I'm not
You're
trying
a
to talk smack on the
Mitsubishi guy,
Evo.
you're like-
It's like personal preference. My personal preference. The only Evo I would own is the 4 or 5
Really?
Why?
because it's small. It's light.
Gotcha.
It'll
kept
serve the purpose.
It kept the legacy of what the
Right,
Evo
right,
was.
right.
The 8 and 9 are to me, they're bloated. Like it's just too big, too heavy, and
You
I
don't even like the body style though.
not really.
Really?
Not the 8 and 9. The 5
I
and
think the
4,
10.
5,
The
6.
10. I like the front end.
Okay.
I like that the big like the grill, how it almost
Mhm.
looks like it goes from the hood all the way down to like.
I thought we established that that's not an Evo.
this guy.
But I'm talking smack. But I got a Lancer.
Oh, do you?
Outside?
Oh, that's what you drove
my
up in?
daily.
Oh my god!
But it's the non-turbo. It's just the 4B11
Yeah,
non-turbo.
yeah.
And I have 2 of them. So one of them is in Ecuador and one's here. So that's I
Well,
drive.
you got
Mitsubishis.
enough engine parts in your garage.
Oh,
I'm pretty
yeah.
sure. You
Yeah,
can
right.
slap
You're
that thing
fine.
together.
I've been looking for a turbo kit for it. So sorry, going back to your point, the Evo making a comeback. If it does make a comeback, it's not going to be what we know the Evo was. It'll be a sedan like a Maxima with a turbo motor. Like I
don't
don't
know
because it's
why.
the Renault Nissan. Even the rumors that it's going to come back, it's like it's going to be a Nissan motor with a Mitsubishi.
Here's the thing: I feel like we f***ed ourselves, and I'll say that pretty bluntly.
Mhm.
And because you hear everybody here, and they're like, "Yo, we want sports cars. We want sports
Nobody
cars.
buys
we
them.
want, yeah, exactly.
Nobody buys
exactly.
them.
We want Supras. You want the Supra to come back. The Supra's back now. Like you wanted this, that you wanted this to come back. You wanted the Evo to stay.
Yep.
Everyone was like, "No, the Evo's got to stay," but then nobody goes and buys them. So
if you don't support what you want with your money, it's going to disappear.
Right.
I mean, that's just how it works. And these companies, it's a company. It's got to make money.
Right.
Like that's why most big companies don't make sports cars anymore.
right.
And if they do, it's like a watered down
It's not
version. It's a
sold here.
sedan with a wing and a body kit.
Right.
And
That's why I think when Dodge started coming out with like the Hellcat, the Demon, and they started making those coming back, and then now you got the GT500 coming from Mustang. Even though they're like heavy boats, they're dedicated sports cars. They're dedicated muscle cars.
Yeah.
And I think they did it right at the right time. Because
they
I agree.
nailed that.
They Dodge, in my opinion, because then you got the Camaro and all that stuff with the ZL1 and stuff. But I feel like Dodge nailed it because they did it at the right exact time where there was a lull in the interest of big gas guzzling muscle cars that were fast that you could buy right from the factory. Most of the time people are like, yo, I'll just buy the shell and then put my own parts in it. It'll probably be cheaper. I feel like they waited for that lull to kind of go away. They were like, yo, now's the time, pull the trigger. They went out and it exploded.
Bro, you can buy a car and take it from Dodge and go straight to the track and run a 10.
Yeah.
Like just put a helmet on and floor it. Like
It's unreal.
that's wild. And
Well, I heard a story about an older lady at PBIR. I think you might have been there for this one. Her and her son both bought Hellcats.
okay.
And she took it to the racetrack, and it still had the temp tags on it.
I heard about that, but I wasn't
She ran
there.
it down the track, and she thought somebody at the end was going to tell her when to stop. So
Yeah.
she just kept going.
Oh,
She hit the
I didn't
net
hear
and
that.
totaled the car.
No.
Yeah, it was like a week old. She just blew right through, blew through the sand trap, hit the net, flipped the car over.
Wow. That's
sad.
scary, dude.
And when they asked her, she was like, I thought somebody's going to tell me when I should start slowing down. But I mean, like, I'm thinking to myself, like, when you see the f***ing trees at the end of the track, it's probably a pretty good sign to, like, let off
Hit
the
the
gas.
brakes.
You know what
Oh
I'm saying?
my goodness.
Oh man, I'll tell you the first time that I went to Moroso,
Yeah.
I didn't realize when I was supposed to stop.
Really?
There's nothing there that like lights up that you went through the traps.
Right.
Nothing lets you know that you went through. And what do you do when you're drag racing? You're in it
Right.
to try to get the maximum.
Right,
So
right.
Yeah,
you're
you
like
wanna
you're
go
like
all the way to
makes
the end.
sense.
in PBIR now, like the boards
Are behind.
that's where I thought you let off. Then one time I let off there, and my buddy's like, "You let off before you got to the
Yeah.
end." I'm like, "Where the hell do you stop? Like, let off."
it's like another 10 feet, I think.
It's a little more than 10 feet.
And
Yeah,
then I
yeah.
know the only sign that I see of when you just because like even the wind light is almost level with the finish line, so you can't even see. I mean, you can probably catch a glimpse of it when you're going across the finish line,
Mhm.
but I think you would just have to look for the difference in color of the track.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
the only way you would really. know.
I mean,
And now you've driven
when
it so
I
many
was working
times.
there, I did mention to when we had a meeting, and I was like, we don't really know when we're supposed to let off.
Even some checkered flags on the sidewalk.
Anything.
Anything. Yeah.
I mean, even a little light, you can literally run a line from a light from the tower or to the tower to from the board a little further down and put like a little red light. So as soon as you hit the end of the traps, the light turns on, and you're like, okay, I'm done.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, I don't.
Oh, I wanted to before I forget, when you were talking about perfect timing with Dodge and them with the sports cars,
Right.
How do you feel about Chevy dropping that bomb on Toyota? When Toyota was like the new Supra, blah, blah, and Chevy went C8, boom.
Yeah. Yeah.
The only American car I would own.
The
C8.
C8's
Really?
gorgeous. I think it performed decent at the Rolex 24, which happened last weekend. It performed decent.
Do you think they're still working out the bugs though?
I definitely
Oh, absolutely.
Oh yeah.
That's what was so surprising about it was they thought they kept talking. The only one that was tested was the Porsche. The only one that was tested was the Porsche, and It came out. It did well.
Yeah.
For it being the first time.
So in its class, it came in 4th and I think like 9th. But the 9th place guy
It
spun.
qualied on the second row.
He spun
So
that.
it wasn't the car.
But yeah, they
They
qualified
qualied
up
on
front.
second row.
Oh, wow.
So I think when they work the kinks out of the long range, because in the short range, obviously in qualifying it works fine.
Mhm.
I think when they work the kinks out in the long range, it's because you remember when the C7 came out. I think it was the C7. When the C7 first came out, it was winning. It changed endurance racing.
Right.
Because it was just winning. There, nobody can keep up with it. I think the C8, it didn't make that same splash, but I think it's going to get there. I think that, you want my personal opinion? I think that people really know in the community. People talk. Like, you ever listen? I work for an electronics company, and literally,
Oh, you almost said it.
I almost said it. But I work for an electronics company, and people, those rumor sites and things like that, and somebody left the phone at a bar and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
So like things like that, people know. You know what I'm saying? Like, people also can be paid off. You want my God's honest opinion? I think that somebody from Toyota told Chevy what they were working on, what they were doing, and spilled the beans. They probably got paid a lot of money for it.
I don't think.
I think it works like that.
But like, let me just jump in right there. I don't think they had to, because Toyota was already, they had the FT1, and as soon as the FT1 came out, everybody was like, a new Supra.
I also don't think
The
they
new
had
Supra's
to.
gonna come out.
I also don't think they had to, because I think everyone knew that the new Supra wasn't going to be a new Supra.
Yeah,
Everyone across the board.
not me. I didn't.
Really?
I expected with that legacy that Toyota had with that car. I thought it was going to be a little
when
more
I heard
Toyota.
they were coming out with another one, I was like, it's not going to be the same. There's no way, because not just technology has changed, but people's taste in cars have changed.
Right.
The tuner scene loves the Mark IV, but overall, they're not looking for the one or two racers to buy it here and there. They want to sell it to the mass.
Of course,
Yeah, that's
the
so-
tuner scene.
yeah.
I mean, the tuner scene that loves the MK4 are the ones that saw it in the video games.
Right.
Like the fanboys are in their mid-20s, early 30s.
Right.
Oh my God, the Supra. Oh my God. These are the guys that are buying these JDM cars that Rev Motors and everybody's bringing in.
Right.
40-year-olds aren't buying
No.
right-hand drive
Right.
Supras.
No.
So
Right.
the Toyota's like, who is our market? Like,
Right.
who can afford 50,000? Not a 25-year-old.
Nope.
I mean, not all of them. Like mass
Yeah,
production, mass
we're
sales.
in Florida, so
Well,
some of you.
He can buy me a car. But I agree with you that it's got to be a mass market car.
Yeah,
you can't
right.
have a sports car only. Even the Dodge is a mass market car.
And I'll also say that the Corvette has been selling consistently for years.
Yeah.
The Supra, they stopped making the Mark IV. It wasn't on sale. How long was the spread before
99 was the last year.
from the Mark IV to now? Almost
crazy.
20 years.
Yeah.
So you get 20 years of layoff. It was never going to make the same splash as a C8. And then you take a Corvette, a car that has been front engine, just put the biggest stuff in it and let it ride for so long, and you switch to a mid-engine to run some to embarrass some overseas stuff.
Is a Corvette the ultimate send it car? Like big motor, bigger motor, 6.2 supercharged twin turbo.
To an
I think
extent.
so, because
Send that
if you
shit.
because if you I watched a video one time where they had an LS on a block and they had a Coyote on a
Coyote.
block.
I saw them. I saw it. They did a power.
Right, they did a
comparison.
power test.
Yeah.
And the Coyote blew up. The Coyote blew up.
Because they didn't change the head bolts. If you go back, they gave them X amount of money, and the Chevy guys were able to, in their budget, like you couldn't spend more than I forget what the money was.
Right, but if you're a
the
racer,
Coyote guy went for more power, thinking that the head bolts would hold.
right.
So if he could have swapped out the head bolts and that engine could have kept going, but that's what he said.
That's
I mean,
what he
I'm
said,
not. I'm
but
not. I'm not a Ford guy. So I don't
think,
know.
yeah, but as a racer, you're going to put as much power into that sucker as you can. And the LS held up with lower parts.
Yeah.
So it put out more power.
Mhm.
So in my opinion, you got an engine like that, you throw it in a Corvette. Yeah, I think it. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think for a while, for a couple of years, it was the midlife crisis car.
It still is. What are you talking about?
It is, but I mean, I see a lot of young guys driving it. Like it's not the 50 and 60-year-olds anymore.
Right,
There's 20, 30-year-olds buying a Corvette.
It's got a lot of attention now.
I think, well, also too, I mean, just to talk about finances here for a moment, back in the 70s and 80s, you had to buy a Corvette.
Yeah.
Now you can just lease it. I mean, when I was 25, I could have spent $800 a month on a lease without a problem. And then back in the 80s, it was a midlife crisis car because guys were retiring and they're like, I got money now.
But people in Europe are amazed at how inexpensive our sports cars are here.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like, I mean, they make fun of them because, you know, can't go around corners or whatever, but
We go straight here, America.
They still are amazed at how inexpensive they are.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, let me jump in right there. I mean, mid-engine V8,
right.
under $80,000.
Right.
Who the hell makes
Exactly.
that? Nobody. Like I had arguments.
Chevy
That's
does.
why it's got
I
the
had
attention now.
arguments with people.
America.
I know a lot of people that are like hating on it. Oh, it's a garbage, and I'm like, time out.
gorgeous.
I was like, time out. You love McLaren, right? Oh yeah. Okay, 100 and what? 140K mid-engine V8 twin turbo.
Not that fast.
Yeah, they're not that fast, to be honest. I rode in one
You have to put a lot of work in to make them fast.
800 to the wheels with a billet wheel upgrade
They're
and
just not
tuning
that
and whatnot.
fast.
Anyway, so you have to spend over 100 grand to get the next car that is mid-engine V8 rear-wheel drive. Chevy's gonna do a base model for what? Let's call it 60. They're talking
I think it
50
is 60.
something.
Well, you got the
Let's call
markup
it
now,
60,
but when
yeah.
when the markup comes down, it'll be right around 60, 65, I think.
60, 65 for a mid-engine V8.
Crazy.
Come on, dude.
It's
That's
crazy.
like, I want one. I'm trying to make some moves with my business, with my finances, so I can get one, and I'm gonna twin turbo it. But then, and then people are like, "Oh, the
Rich
ZR."
Mitsubishi Turbo Dad Rich.
Like I said a second
American
ago,
car.
the only American car I would buy.
jeez.
But I want to buy the base model because they're saying that the ZR or ZL1, whatever
Yeah.
is going to be twin turbo.
Yeah.
But I want to buy the base model. I'm just want to turbo it myself because you can spend 15K. You know, buy it for 60, spend 15, and you got a solid kit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
If you get that stock, they're gonna
When my
pay
daughter-
so much more for it
Yeah,
too.
dude.
when my daughter
Too much.
goes to college, don't tell the wife.
She don't listen to us anyway. Neither does my wife.
My wife won't understand it, so
from where you were to now, and we've talked about it, and we're going to continue to talk about it on the show here. The racing scene down here, getting butts in the seats at the stands at the tracks.
I'll tell you. So okay,
What do you feel?
My
'Cause
insight.
you had firsthand
So
knowledge.
from going from being a spectator to being a racer to being in the industry and then working at the premier racetrack in Florida,
Right.
it hurts me. It like kills me inside because I know the people at PBIR work their butts off.
They do.
These
Just-
people are diehard racers. I know. I hear a lot of smack. Oh, they're corporate. They're corporate. No. Maybe the company that owns the
company that
facility,
owns it,
yeah.
yeah.
But the people like the general manager, the people that work, the people on the ground are racers, and they work their asses off. And then people don't show up. People show up and complain. What do you mean, $30 to race? Okay, I get it.
What do you think? It's going to be free?
Yeah,
How are we going to keep the lights on, guy?
yeah, and I think a lot of people don't realize what it takes to run a track, and they're like, "Oh, we can just go to 27, yeah, and die." So, like, I appreciate what the guy like Chris Harris, who's doing the IRRA. I appreciate the new general manager that's trying to do a little more for drag racing events, because that track is very heavily focused on the road course.
Yeah.
Because that's where the money is. I mean, come on. Do you know what it costs to have a membership at the track and the road course?
No, I
A
don't.
year? 40,000.
Whoa.
40K. Like those guys that show up on a Wednesday and Friday on the road course, it's 40,000 a year.
So that's why you
Whoa.
always see those
You bring your
Porsches out
car,
there.
you bring your Ferrari, whatever you have.
Yeah.
That's why you see those exotics doing laps
didn't
and
know
laps
that.
and laps. They're members of the
That
I
makes
forget the
sense.
name of it.
That makes sense.
So when you hear a drag racer bitching about, oh, fucking $30, $5 for a hot dog, that's cheap, brother. Like, look at the track. You know, oh,
How many meetings are there where they're talking about how to get more people out? Like,
when
does
I was
that
there every
dominate-
week.
Yeah.
I mean, I was in charge of social media, and my job was to get people excited about the events that are coming up. So when I took that job, I noticed that PBIR wasn't really informing their social media audience. Like the Instagram was photos, on a car on the track, this and that. So I started putting out like a calendar. On Monday or Tuesday, I would post, these are the events at the track. And I would tag the groups that were there, that were going to be there. And then we would try to target likely spectators, likely racers for each event.
Right.
And I started doing like top 10 on Tuesday, top 10 burnouts from the previous week from testing to whatever, to get people excited. Oh shit, we got to go, maybe bring my car out and, do a burnout, something. So the focus on getting butts and seats is massive.
Yeah.
Because the track needs to survive. Not only survive, like pay the bills, but make a profit.
Right.
You know, all the people that work there depend on that paycheck. And I know corporate, many months, like the track didn't make a dime. The track lost money.
Is it dying?
And they're still paying the salaries.
Is it dying?
No, it's not dying. So you'll go 3 months with like attendance, really shitty attendance, but then you'll get like 2 months where it's like banging. And
Clean Culture, Street Kings, IRRA, all in February.
Those events.
3 bangers.
You want to know what the biggest events are? Have you ever been to
Donks.
Donk, baby.
Donks and
the
grudge races.
Biggest events are the donk events.
Of course.
I was at the where they
That
raced,
doesn't surprise me one bit.
and I'll tell you, I think
They make it an event though. Like the fans, then people,
That-
they bring their whole family
it's
out there.
wild.
Like it's everybody comes.
Were
out.
you? Have you ever been?
I've
you
never
ever
been.
been to
I've
the
never
donk?
been to a donk. I've been to a grudge race
Okay.
that had a couple donks in
Okay,
it. But I've never been to a legit donk.
There
race.
was the one donk event that I went to that the race of the night was for $40,000.
I heard about that.
20 each person, and I was in the tower and I left the tower because I got nervous. Each guy showed up with $20K in a bag.
Well, those guys are passionate,
and they're passionate.
I've seen
and
people
they're
yell over.
packing.
Yeah, I've seen over $5,000 races, like $5,000 races, get into like heated, maybe almost fights.
But so that's a good point. I noticed that as well. But in that culture or in that scene, that's not a fight.
Yeah.
no,
That's how
that's
their
how they
way.
express their way.
Yeah, yeah. I'm like,
I see it on YouTube, and I'm like, yo, these guys are gonna
they're
shoot
about
each
to-
other.
They're not,
and they never even get there.
They're not. So I was recording 2 guys that they were like, oh, they're screaming at each other,
Yeah.
and they're like, you're just playing. And they're like, yeah. And I was like, bro, I thought this was gonna go on World Star Hip Hop. Like,
Because where I'm from, like you start screaming at people,
you're
like
getting put down. Now, I
it's
mean,
gonna be a
look,
fight.
even when we used to go down to Miami, I used to race down in Homestead back in the late '90s. Like, you better watch your mouth. Like, you come out there to their let's say it to their crew, and you're talking a lot of smack that you're gonna beat so and so, and then you disrespect somebody, you might not make it home. Like, I'm talking back in the late '90s.
Yeah.
We would show up at events in Homestead and like some off the side road, 200 cars, 250 cars,
Jesus.
and no cops, no lights.
They couldn't.
But I'm talking back in the '90s where it was empty.
They didn't have enough cops to deal with that.
Exactly. So, but back then, you would go and you better respect. This is not your crew.
Back
this is
then,
not
there
your...
was probably wasn't as built up too down there. And some of the spots,
Exactly.
down
It was
there,
empty.
You can
It
go
was
wherever-
empty.
Yeah, you can go wherever you want.
Well, what I'm saying is like if you're from Miami and I'm from Coral Springs and I'm the big dog and I come to your town and I'm talking too much,
Yeah.
and if I disrespect you, like, oh, we're not going to race. Now I'm going to whip your ass. Like,
Yeah.
there was a big respect thing back then.
Yeah.
Now it's like, if you go on, what is it, Miami Callouts on Facebook, it's like the largest Facebook group for racing
Really?
in Miami. And one of my friends runs it,
Okay.
George. And
Might have
they
to get
talk,
George on here.
they talk so much shit. Bro, disrespect all over the place.
Yeah.
I left the group because I was like, this is too much. Like,
Yeah.
I think I'm too old for this. Like, I'm too old for this group.
That's crazy.
But dude, there's guys that get on there and they talk about their mothers, their wives. I'm gonna do this.
Oh,
Don't
man.
bring your girl to the race because I'm gonna take care. I'm like, Jesus Christ. But that's what they love, And I think that page is that big because of that drama. That
Hell yeah.
So do you think
Yeah.
racing's gonna come back? Do you think there's gonna be a swing back to where everybody's going back to the track?
Personally, not really. I think it's gonna survive for another 2-3 years before maybe it'll make a jump, and not because people don't want to race. We all want to race. I know a lot of racers. I mean, that page in Miami has like 10,000 people.
Yeah.
And it's just street race Miami callouts.
Right.
The track location is the killer. If that track was further south, you would not have to spend money marketing. People would just go. It's from my house, it's an hour and 10 minutes.
Yeah, that's about for me.
Test and tune on a Friday, it takes me 3 hours to get there because of traffic.
Yeah.
If you're talking about guys,
I don't even go. I go on the weekends and that's it.
See, like guys from Miami, it'll literally take them 3.5 hours.
That's crazy.
It's like, dude, to test your car. It's like, I'm going to drive 3.5 hours to go to a test and tune, or I'm going to, 10 minutes over there at 27 and do a couple hits. That's the problem. It's not that I don't think the racing scene is dead. I think the track location and people going to that specific track is bad.
So what do you think if County Line, something like County Line came back? Do you think more people will go to PBIR? Because like here's my thing.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, right. Because like
No.
a lot of people from Miami would just go to County Line.
Yeah, they have no reason to
Yeah,
go
but there's
north.
a reason why County Line went away.
Right, but well, there is a reason why County Line went away.
It wasn't for lack of participation.
No, it was because the city of Miami
Yeah,
sucks
exactly.
butthole. But my thing is like, I can see PBIR. Jesus, I can see PBIR becoming like the best people for like throwing banger events where like you get the people from Miami, you get the people from Orlando, and they kind of merge at PBIR and they throw down.
I don't think so.
They would never work that way.
I personally would say so. Like me being who I am, working at PBIR, if there was a track half an hour from me, I would never go to PBIR. Never.
Even if they threw a
Really?
big event.
Wow.
I don't care. Here's the
See,
thing.
that's
If I'm going to race the event, absolutely. But what makes money for the track is the spectators.
But that's
I'm not going to drive 2 hours to go watch cars race.
I feel like that's a South Florida thing.
It is a South Florida
Because up
Yeah.
in the northern states, you have to drive 3-4 hours because
Yeah.
there's no track near you. So if you want to
That makes-
race,
Yeah, you're going to have to go out there.
trail your shit up.
Look, if you go to 27 on a Sunday runs, there's more cars parked on the curve than a test and tune on Friday at PBR.
It's unreal.
So people are out. There's racers. The location just kills it. Like even I want to go to IRA. I'm like, God, it's an hour and 15. I got to get a trailer. I got to trailer my car because if it breaks, to pay a tow truck is $300. If it was 30 minutes from my house or 45 minutes, I would just drive.
Yeah.
You know, it's at the end of the day, it's a financial burden for me to drive all the way there and do 4 or 5 runs and then drive all the way back, especially if I'm going on a Friday when there's traffic.
Yeah.
Right,
well,
right.
for test and tune, you're not going to win any money, but at least for IRA, you might.
No, see, IRA is on a weekend. Like, you know, it's fun. It's a fun. That's why I looked at the calendar and I'm like, oh, I can hit this. Like, it's not a big deal.
No,
But
it's
when
like once every couple of months. It's not going to kill you.
When I was younger, though, they used to have test and tune Wednesday and Fridays. Yeah, we were there every Wednesday, every Friday. And it was a big crowd.
I think the younger kids should be there because the younger kids are the ones that don't really have anything going on.
Yeah, but they don't got money. When we were younger, when I was younger, I had my own.
I can't sing.
I had my own shop, so I had money, making my own money, and I would go with all my friends because most of my friends worked at my shop.
Right.
So we would all go and we'd get everybody, you know, and hey, can you come? And then we'd try to get people that weren't. Oh man, I gotta work.
Right.
I don't got money. I don't got it's a toll road. Like literally, it's a toll road. Like that was a reason not to go because they couldn't afford to pay the toll.
Well, I really appreciate you coming on the show.
Thank you, Mary.
We gotta kind of cut it down because we
told you we talk
for a while.
I told you I talk a lot.
So go ahead.
We got a lot of stuff.
I appreciate you guys tuning in. Go ahead and follow Rich at the Turbo Dad